Please, speak freely.
Hello and welcome to the Mandalorian's Explosions After Show, breaking down, discussing each and every episode of Disney Plus original series, The Mandalorian. My name's Dylan Blatt, and joining me to discuss Season 3, Episode 1, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here. I got here, surprise drop this week. But yeah, excited to be here to talk about The Mandalorian.
Didn't see it coming. I really thought that was I guess it's a mid-season break or something. I'm not sure what the...
No, I think what really happened is that, they only had ideas for 6 episodes, but they asked for 7, so...
They're like, fuck it.
Fuck. We'll just use the first episode.
Yep.
Yep. Done.
We'll just re-edit it. Nah. Fuck it, I expect an episode of The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian. I don't... Is that what we're doing now?
I guess so. That's what happens when you got a giant connected universe.
So of course, actually, you're listening to the podcast of Boba Fett. This week's Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian, episode title, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, written by Jon Favreau, starring, and I'm not going off the credits at the end of the episode, then get fucked, starring Pedro Pascal, Emily Swallow, Amy Sedaris, Ardeshir Radpour, Helen Sadler, and Ming-Na Wen. Oh, that's right, she's last. No, Tamara Morrison. Synopsis: an unexpected ally emerges. Whatever. Yeah, so how do you feel about sitting down to watch an episode of one TV show and getting another one?
I mean, yeah, it was a great episode of The Mandalorian. I thought it was, really good chance to look at what happened to Jin and how he's been coping. Yeah, he's just kind of a sad boy, missing his little boy, unable to figure out how to use this saber thing. I think, yeah, obviously there's a lot of things that it answers questions for. It is very odd that it's the focus of an entire episode of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes. It's so weird because I'm like,
and it's
man.
Extra jarring because there were no flashbacks this episode. There was no footage of. I thought for sure when he injured his leg, he would end up in some sort of bacta tank.
I was like, I think at one point I pressed up on the remote. There was 20 minutes left. I'm like, fucking hell, we're gonna get like 10 minutes of Boba in this episode. 0. That's
no.
0.
This was nothing but The Mandalorian / Pimp My Ride.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. It's weird though, because I gotta, like, my overall thoughts on this episode are, it was a terrible episode of the Book of Boba Fett. But it was, if this had been the first episode of season 3 of The Mandalorian, I would have been like, what a banger of a season opener. Let's go. Shit's happening. But yeah, it's just weird. It's just, how do you go, oh, that was a good episode of that TV show that I'm watching when it's not even connected until the last couple of minutes?
We've seen TV shows that like focus on like another character before, but not normally when they've got their own TV show that they could be doing it on. You know what I mean?
And imagine if you've come into this only watching this without having watched The Mandalorian.
Yeah, you're like, man, don't care about. I came here for Boba Fett. That's who I want. Like, who the hell is this guy?
Who the hell is this guy? Because like, when the episode started and he shows up, I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, because, obviously last week was like, oh, this thing plays at the end. They're going to go.
He's going to show up. And in true Star Wars fashion, they don't beat around the bush. They just bring him straight away.
Yeah. And I was fine with him opening the episode because I was straight away, my brain goes, all right, first 10, 15 minutes probably. We're going to get see this little story, whatever he's doing, this current, find out, get some little nuggets and hints at what he's going to be doing in season 3. And then someone will show up, or you'll get a message or whatever, and we'll go back to the characters this television series I'm watching is actually about. Instead, it was legit just a full-on episode of Mando.
It's a backdoor pilot for season 3.
It's a backdoor pilot for a show
That's
in a show that's a spin-off from the show. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, is this show actually just The Mandalorian season 3?
I mean, it's so weird. It's so weird. But I mean, without complaining, I feel like to talk about it, I'm just going to have to more or less forget that it's actually a Book of Boba Fett episode, because, or else I just don't think it's a good episode of the show, because it's not an episode of the show, you know? And it's not a bottle episode for a character within that show. Like, I don't feel like it even fits that criteria.
No.
You know?
This was like an episode focused on Fennec, or, I don't know, one of the guards, or Matt Berry's bot. Then
even one of the biker people. Fine.
Yeah.
They're all characters from the show. You can do a bottle episode for them. But doing a bottle episode for a character that has actually never been in the show before doesn't actually work, because you're doing an episode for the character of which this show is a spin-off from. So at that point, it literally just becomes an episode of that show. It would be like doing an episode of Buffy in Angel.
Yeah, you just follow Buffy the entire time? Yeah.
You just followed Buffy the entire time. You're literally just doing an episode of Buffy at that point. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, like you wouldn't do that, because that doesn't work.
It's weird.
Anyway, it's very weird. So all that aside, now that I've got that out of the system, I guess, really good episode of The Mandalorian. Think about this as an episode of The Mandalorian. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's really good. Obviously, you know, like I said, we get to catch up with Jin, find out what he's doing. You know, apparently, I forgot that the Razor Crest blew up at the end of last season. And you know, now he has to catch commercial flights to get from bounty to bounty. Like a
old regular person.
Does he have to check in did he have to check in the severed head the first time?
Maybe. Oh, no, he walked. I just assumed he walked, right?
Oh, yeah, it could have been on the...
I think it was just on that planet.
On the Halo thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that, in my notes, Halo. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know if I've seen it before, but officially a Halo ring in the Star Wars universe is where the opening of this episode took place. That was my two thoughts. So, opening fight scene thing was cool. Obviously, seeing him use the Darksaber and just suck at it was interesting. And then chop someone's body in half and proceed to cut their head off. I was like, man, what a grueling start to this week's episode. But then as soon as it came outside and you see that sweeping shot of the Halo ring and the city and stuff, my first thought was, oh, it's Halo ring. Second thought was, no fucking sand. Thank God. I'm seeing something. And at this point, I was like, we're going back there anytime soon, though. Like, next 5 minutes, we're back to Tatooine.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess that was one big positive about this episode. It took a lot longer to get back to Tatooine, at least. Yeah, so you have the cool... and this episode, really, I should have seen the signs in the tea leaves earlier. Because this episode is not in a rush. At all.
It's pretty slow.
It literally has him limping up and down streets, doing these one-ers in elevators. It's just like, we're on a ride. So I don't know why, in retrospect, I wasn't just sitting there going, man, we're not going back to Boba, are we? At all. So then he tracks. So the whole thing is obviously following the end of season 2 of Mando, I guess. He has followed hints and stuff or whatever that's led him back to his actual
cult.
What's he actually called?
Sect?
Yeah, his cult, yeah. His sect of the Mandalorians, of course. It's really interesting seeing the Armorer again and hearing the Armorer talk after having not seen them for a while, because we've been around other Mandalorians, be that Boba, be that Bo-Katan, people who just talk more normally and take helmets off and stuff. And this, like, coming back to them, it really was like, oh, look, the cult leaders. Like, how do you feel like seeing all that interaction and all the, from the moment of this is the way stuff again through to the very last moment where it's like, did you take your helmet off? Yes. All right. Fuck off.
I mean, it was very nostalgic, like remembering that thing. Surprising it took so long for them to ask the question, like, because it felt like every single time they showed up, she asked the question of him last time. So, but yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like, cool setting. It's like a odd place to like set up shop, I guess. At the bottom
made for some cool shots though, like especially him like walking down, seeing us sitting there looking out in space and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, aesthetically it looked really cool, but like practically, what are they doing? But yeah, I mean, it's only the three of them left, right? So I mean, that's a little bit sad. So, okay, but yeah, I think it was cool, like getting to see them again, and then she's like, oh, about the spear. It's like we're not meant to make it into weapons. Although her two axes are clearly made out of it as well. So
she's she's Pascal, on there.
But yeah, and then we get the scene of him like, I want to make something for my little foundling, Grogu.
Yeah, she does fight back at first and says, like, you've taken him back to his people. He's, like, they have to point out how Jedi have to separate the, like, Jedi's, Kree's, like, the antithesis to the Kree there on the way or whatever, which was an interesting thing to point out. What do you think she made him?
I don't know. It was like a bunch of chain links, so maybe like chainmail or something. That would be my only thought. Otherwise, it's like maybe in like a necklace or something.
I assumed it wasn't armor or anything. I just assumed it was some. I don't know. Could be like, I don't assume it's not like a full body armor. It has to just be something simple. I liked how when he looked at it on the aircraft, like the taxi bus thing, he like the way it's wrapped up, it actually looks like a face. The Grogu Yoda head.
Yeah.
I know. I assume that was sort of done on purpose. Had to be. So of course the main thing that you get out of this whole segment, other than like a catch up on what's happening in their lives, is firstly we get a flashback seeing the war in Mandalore, which was really cool to see. Brutal sort of war section, seeing TIE bombers, like how many, like thousands of them, hundreds probably on the horizon, I guess, bombing the shit out of Mandalore. Seeing I can't remember their fucking names off the top of my head, but seeing the droids from Rogue One, all that shit.
A lot of droids that we've seen before showing up in this episode.
Yeah, I've got one noted down I'll get to a bit later that was interesting, but so that was all cool. And then we get, when they come back, obviously they're doing a bit of training, and that leads to the fight. And again, I should have wrote his name down, but old mate, who's a descendant, like an actual descendant of one of the high houses or whatever you want to call them from Mandalore. He's the surviving member there. He obviously challenges Din to a duel to get the Darksaber. Din manages to beat him and keep the Darksaber, which is good. But I knew that was going to come. It was like 2 seconds into him being there, and as soon as he pulled out the weapon, it was like, all right.
Let's fight.
Yeah, let's see if this dude wants to fight ASAP. But they also, and I think I discussed this in the very last episode of when we did Mando Season 2 finale, they again sort of make sure to point out that Bo-Katan tried to, at some point, use that during the Clone Wars to claim Mandalore. She wasn't able to because she didn't win it. And I think it was in that final episode I pointed out that she's definitely going to come back in and she's going to want to fight Din for that because she wants it to claim her, what she believes is her like family right. And to a degree it is, but so I think that's 100% going to happen because that was just assuming what was going to happen. And then in this episode, they make sure to bring that up again. So I think that's what we're going to get probably
Okay.
season 3.
So, it's Paz Vizsla is the character.
That's it, Vizsla. Yeah.
Also voiced by Jon Favreau.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's because he did the original, his father or whatever, in the Clone Wars.
Yep.
That's for 4 or 5 episodes or whatever it was, the main arc in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Previously, yeah. So then they have him do the voice. I think I talked about this when he made season 1 of Mando or something. I think, from memory.
Probably. But
yeah,
of all the Mandalorians that could have survived, it had to be him.
Had to be him. It made sense. He was like his character. I think they just wanted. They wanted like families that Clone Wars fans or recognize, or not just the fans, but like has been set up in the Clone Wars as these big families, and you want some surviving family members that. So then you can have characters like him who, you know, to a degree, even though he doesn't say it, I feel like there's a lot of he thinks he's owed this sword because he's from a, you know, a proper, quote unquote, proper Mandalore family. And even though he doesn't say it, Din is a foundling. He's not a proper, you know, he's a one-member family. Like, he has no lineage in Mandalore, so he's never been to Mandalore, as far as we're aware. Maybe, I don't know. But, cool. Yeah. So then he gets kicked out for taking his helmet off. I appreciate that they don't they just commit to that and they don't have Din lie. I think that says that, like, down to the last moment, he has so much respect for the armorer and I guess Mandalore and the culture that he was brought up in, that even though he knows probably deep down what's going to happen if he says he took his helmet off, he still refuses to lie, which I think like says something about him as a person, a character sort of thing. So I thought that was a nice sort of detail. He leaves though, gets on the bus or whatever. You have the again very drawn out. There's all these moments that just like this episode is no rush. Like having the whole taking all the weapons out. Although I did like to hear the funny little line of "Weapons are my religion."
Yeah.
You're gonna make me take them all out as he undresses like literally everything he's carrying, like 1,001 weapons. All for literally nothing. It was just for a bit because he gets them back 2 seconds later. So then he goes to Tatooine.
Got it.
And
we missed it.
I did not. To be honest. But it's fine, we're back. Because this is Tatooine in The Mandalorian, not Tatooine and Boba Fett, which means
Different.
It's different, I don't know. So you get what's her character's name? Amy Sedaris, I can't remember.
I had it up a second ago.
Pelimoto.
Motto.
Come again. Pelimoto?
Yep.
Pelimoto? Oh yeah, Pelimoto. Yeah, P-L-I. Yeah. So Pelimoto, who we saw a CGI version of.
Or was it?
Ago. Nah, that was totally CGI. There's no way they paid her to do a walking shot. I'm gonna say it's CGI.
Really? They didn't just get a shot of her walking in this and then put it in that episode?
Maybe. It's possible. It's possible.
More likely than doing up a CGI model of her.
It's because you don't see her face. That's why I lean toward it being CGI.
Yeah, because it's meant to be a stupid cameo. Yeah.
So then she's back. Because at first, when Mando's arriving, I'm like, why? Why are you having just been kicked out of your cult?
Why are you coming back to this dump?
Are you coming back to this dump? Yeah. But then the answer is that apparently he had told her between, you know, when we last saw him and now, at some point, hey, can you track me down another Razor Crest? She'd somehow contacted him and said, I've got you something. Anyway, he shows up, saves her life. That was a good bit. And then she's like, I've got something even better. And then reveals that she's been recreating an N1 starfighter from the
The Galactic Republic.
Galactic Republic. I was fucking getting my words from the Galactic Republic era. So like prequel era.
Dylan,
stuff.
That is the fighter that Anakin Skywalker flew in to blow up the Trade Federation ships.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it?
I think it's a version of, or if not similar. I don't think it's the exact same one. I mean, a quick Google search can answer this probably.
It does look kind of small in comparison.
It looks similar, but I don't think it's the same. Quick Star Wars Wikipedia search says the full-size M1 Starfighter prop used by Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, blah, blah, blah. So, yes. It appears so. So, it but it's slightly different. It's not the exact same design. But it is the same ship that was used. The M1 Starfighter was originally built by the Naboo and was most notably used in Trade Federation invasion of the planet. Blah, 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 blah. A decade later, 3 M1s were used to escort Senator Palpatine. Blah, 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 blah. Wait, where is it? This is trying centers. No, so it's not the exact same one. It's just I think the one that he uses is a different sort of version of it. It's probably the M1 or, some fucking shit like that. Yes. Cool. How do you feel about I think it's a cool pull. I think it's a very cool looking ship. I think it's a different direction to take Mando's character, to have him in a ship like that and not something like the Razor Crest, which is what we're most used to. It also puts a lot of limitations on
collecting bounties.
Yeah, you can collect one bounty, I guess, at a time, but you're never going to see him in season 3 have 4 or 5 people in the ship at the same time.
Where's he going to live?
I guess he'll have to land, yeah.
He'll have to land places, I guess. Well, because it's fast enough to get to places.
Faster to get places, I guess, yeah. Definitely puts a different change of pace, but it'll also sell a lot of Lego and action figures. And
yep, they can just reprint all those Naboo Starfighters again.
That's the most important part. But I think
because there's no droid thing, that's a perfect spot to stick Grogu in.
It's true. He won't be able to see what the fuck's going on, but unless he has a booster,
he won't be able to touch anything. That's the main thing,
Yeah. But I think from from Star Wars lore, in a cool way, I think it's cool. I think you're going back and pulling out this Starfighter from prequel era sort of stuff and making that the ship he's using is nice to see, especially because we still live in the age where the prequel movies, especially Episode 1, is mostly shat on still. So I think that's cool that he's now driving around something from that film era sort of thing. It's kind of cool. And then what made it nearly totally cringy is the moment after he goes for a massive flight. Really cool sequence I liked, by the way. Him flying around looked really good. Then being pulled over by space cops and then Vin Diesel.
Was the canyon he goes through from Episode 1, the pod racing?
Yeah, because you can see all the Tuscan village camp things or whatever that they shoot from and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, which is fine. That's background little. Oh, I remember that moment. Not obnoxious, but the Yeah, so after he gets pulled over by space cops, which is funny because that dude's I recognize your voice. I'm oh. And then, Vin Diesel's fucking Dom Toretto just presses the NOS. He's bloody out of there. But then when he lands...
The ship is very Vin Diesel. It's got the massive engine sitting on the front.
Yeah, and it literally sounds like just a V8 car.
Yeah.
Fucking, she's it's purring. I don't need to do diagnostics.
It's a classic. It's American made.
It's American muscle. Yeah. Basically is. But yeah, the part that nearly made me cringe is when it lands and she asks, how'd it go? And he goes, so wizard. Which is literally a line that Anakin says in Episode 1 that people have turned into a massive meme or something. And there's no way they didn't make him say that as a reference to that stupid bloody thing. It's out of character of him too, I feel, but if you haven't seen the thing, just type it into Google. I'm sure, I just did. The top result is just a YouTube video of him saying so wizard.
I mean,
this is so wizard.
So wizard, Annie.
Wizard. No one said it. No one says that in Star Wars apart from that one line from Phantom Menace. So they brought it back. So And I there's no way, I'm choosing to believe there's no way that was a Jon Favreau line in the script, that someone has put this in. So now I've got a lot of questions as to who decided to put this in.
Or was the kid who was talking to Anakin Skywalker and says that line actually Jin?
No, I do not believe so. Although that would be quite hilarious because there's like most Star Wars characters, I can't remember that kid's name, but there's weird like fan bases for that kid, and you can find them online if you do. Yeah, I'm like, is Bryce Dallas Howard secretly a super fan of prequels?
Prequels, yeah.
I think she added in the line, maybe could be. Like I don't feel like, but you have to wonder. That's the thing. I know that's why those behind the scenes things come interesting, right? Jon Favreau writes the script. Is it always an M1 Starfighter? Is that a Dave Filoni thing? Is that someone else's choice? Is that a Bryce Dallas Howard thing? You know what I mean? Like, who is it in the script, an M1 Starfighter, or is it just an old ship classic? And then, you know, they decide that later sort of thing. But that's so wizard line. That stood out. And I was like, no, that was not in the script. I refuse to believe that is in the script. There's no fucking way. All right. So then at the end, Fennec Shand obviously shows up. She says, here's a huge bag of money. Can you come help Boba Fett? He says, no problem. Do it for free.
Good.
But first, I need to visit an old friend.
I need you to visit somebody.
Yep. Who's he seeing?
Grogu.
You reckon?
Yeah.
See, that's what I thought at first, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense, right? Does it? How's that work?
Why wouldn't it?
So we're seeing Grogu next episode?
Next episode of The Mandalorian, yeah.
but don't they need isn't the whole point of this episode to say that they need Mando to come help Boba now?
I mean,
like, Boba needs help now. Not season 4.
Yeah, time jump.
So you reckon next episode, Mando's back helping Boba. He's like, I've seen Grogu. He's good.
Yeah, I went, visited him, had a few check beers. In, had my my weekend with him.
A weekend at Luke's.
Weekend at Luke's, yeah. I mean, the other option is like Bo-Katan or somebody, because obviously when he gets kicked out of the sect, it's like, hey, the only way you can be restored is if you go to the cleansing mines underneath Mandalore. So
and
I mean,
he says, I thought they all got destroyed, and she said, this is the way.
This is the way. So the way to get restored is to save Mandalore, reclaim Mandalore, open it back up the mines, go back inside, purge it so nobody remembers you took off your mask.
There's no... I see,
That's season 3 of The Mandalorian.
There has to be a thing at some stage in the show where he finally realizes he's part of a cult, right? Isn't that the storyline? Like,
I guess.
I'm not rooting for him. Like, nothing against the armorer. Seems alright. But, cult leader. Also, there's no way I'm rooting for Din to end up back there. I'd rather him just realize that taking the helmet off is okay.
Maybe.
Get some fresh air, my man. You know?
Prove your skin, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like maybe...
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people complaining about Boba Fett taking off his helmet so much.
He doesn't give a fuck. Weird. He's not Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Well, he's not like proper Mandalorian or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it gets confusing, to be honest.
I mean, be honest, they're just finding any reason to complain about Boba Fett. So it's low on the list of things to complain about.
I don't feel like it's any different than most of the time in like Clone Wars and stuff. If you have episodes of Mandalorians in them, if they're fighting, they have their helmets on. If they come down for a chat, they take their helmets off usually. Especially main characters. Anyone who has a face that you sort of like, they want the show wants you to make sure you know who it is or whatever. They always took the helmet off, so I don't feel like that's too different. But yeah, I feel like Bo-Katan would probably make more sense because, like, if there's something like, oh, he's got to go see Grogu, really? What? Because it just doesn't make sense. Like, we need Mando back. Mando has to be back because the show this is actually about, Boba Fett. The storyline has him.
Is it?
I thought so. The storyline I thought was heading towards him having a big old fight with the
Pikes.
Pikes. Territory war, right? We've got 2 episodes left. Do a territory war. He still needs probably some other help. So either Mando's going to see someone who can help. Maybe that is Bo-Katan. Maybe he says, hey, come help me with my mate Boba, and then I'll let you fight me for the Darksaber. I don't know. Like, I will accidentally trip over and you will defeat me.
We'll have
in
like
a duel. Wink,
intense fight. Well, it's interesting to reiterate about Bo-Katan's, like, the reason her rule was so bad was because the Darksaber was gifted to her. Like,
yeah, bad luck.
Bringing that point up and, like, kind of driving it home.
It's bad jujus, or whatever. Bad energies. Yeah, I don't know. Was there anything else I missed? I feel like maybe it was, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
No,
any final thoughts?
I think we nailed everything, you know?
So excited a bit more for the last 2 episodes now that something's actually happened in the show, even though it was nothing to do with Boba
Fett? I mean, sure. You know? Yes, yeah, it's kind of crazy that it's 2 episodes left. You know? How many flashbacks are we going to get in the last 2 episodes?
Oh, fuck, I hope none. I hope none. Please, Lord. Alright, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Mandalorians, podcast of Boba Fett. I fucking don't know. Holocron Entries. Please subscribe to this podcast, though, Holocron Entries, so you can watch whatever show actually comes out next week, be that The Mandalorians or...
Fingers crossed for the Bad Batch.
Or the Very Bad Batch. Maybe an Obi-Wan episode just slips out. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully Obi-Wan next week. That's
just press play.
I mean, same planet, so...
Yeah. There's Ill McGregor. They're like, fooled you again. Gotchas. What the fuck? Where's the Boba Fett episodes going? It's like losing a sock in a fucking washing machine. I'm like, what the hell happened over here? Jesus. Follow over Twitter's explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. Join our Discord, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. If you like this episode and would like to tell us, head on over to explosionnetwork.com/support to donate as little as $1. And until next week, this is the way.
So wizard.
So wizard.